And we are live. Guys, welcome back to another day, another session. And we're in a series that we're calling Relationships Red Flags for High Achievers. And the last time we had such a wealth of, such an amazing conversation where we talked about the different things with relationship red flags. So, what is relationship red flags? Relationships red flags, especially for high achievers, are the things that we high achievers go through in entrepreneurship and balancing your relationships. Now, one of the things that we do experience is sometimes we tend to neglect different parts of our health, our significant others. We neglect so many things. And one of the topics that I want for us to discuss today under the Relationship Red Flag series is a lack of emotional availability due to work stress. And so for me to have this conversation today, I got a special guest in the studio with me, my man Damon. What's up, brother? How you doing? Oh man, you went out again. So a little while ago, we had some technical difficulties and it just popped back up. That's how I know this conversation is going to be powerful. And we're going to make it happen. There you go. Now I can hear you.
All right, all right. Hey man, I'm doing good, doing good. Just busy, just busy as all get out.
Just busy, man. And so, Damon, let's talk about how we met real quick because we've never officially met, but we follow each other on
Right.
social media, on Facebook, and I remembered us having some dialogue under a post maybe about a month or so ago. And it was something that we said, hey, we should definitely connect at some point. And last Sunday, I put out a post saying, hey guys, I'm going to be going live talking about relationships and business and Damon jumped on. And so that's how this is our first time officially meeting, bro. So tell us who you are and what you do because I think it's super interesting.
All right. Damon Rich, also known as the Relationship GPT, which GPT stands for Godly Perspective and Truth, right? So if you got the question about relationship, I got the answer. While my primary focus is on marriage and dating and spiritual connection and relationship, I also recognize that all of that carries throughout any relationship, whether it's work-based or whatever. So I also consult as an operational specialist in the consulting space, but also in helping do team development and those type of things, just to get people to have stronger relationships. Because here's my singular belief: relationship capital is the most important capital because relationship capital can get you in rooms that money can't.
100%, 100%. Now, let's break that down for the person that's listening that's like, ooh, that was a bar. And they may not understand what that means. Relationship capital. How do you quantify that?
Right. So let me put it this way: relationship capital is the amount of trust, vulnerability, and emotional availability that is in the bank between two people,
Right.
right? And they're
Yeah.
all tied together. It's like a credit score, right? If I ruin trust, that's going to ruin vulnerability. If that ruins vulnerability, I'm not going to be emotionally available, right? So there, even in our work job space, it looks a little bit different when we're in intimate relationships, our romantic relationships. But even in our business relationships, what ends up happening is I have to have a certain level of vulnerability that's appropriate for the work relationship. That's built on trust. That's built on emotional availability. Because if I don't believe in you, if I don't believe in what you're selling, if I don't believe in how you're leading me, I'm not gonna spend any of my relationship capital with you. Period.
Dude, that's so good. Oh my God, that's so good. And here's the thing that I think happens, especially with entrepreneurs in our relationships. We lose one of those aspects and not try to get it back and not realize that we've lost all the other aspects, right? Like, and so we do this one thing that makes trust go, and we think
Hmm.
that our significant other has gotten over it. But then the
Hmm.
vulnerability piece has now exited the building, right? And
Hmm.
it's so crazy. Like I was talking to someone here recently who wanted my services to coach them. And these guys are married for over 20 plus years. And she said something to me. She said, it's hard to trust him. And just
Hmm.
what you broke down in terms of her superpower not being able to be manifested because now she's guarded was a big
Hmm.
part of the conversation. And so I think most people don't understand that when there's a deficit in that relationship capital, that their
Hmm.
entire lives and different aspects of their lives start to deteriorate in a big way. Their performance goes down. Their ability
Yes.
to even access purpose goes down. Like just everything
Yes.
goes down because they're going to be performing in a deficit rather than in a surplus, using your analogy.
Yeah. I want to add something. You just said something that's so good. I want to throw this in. A lot of times, what happens when we are operating at the deficit is we don't realize that sometimes we are operating at a bigger deficit than we realize, but some of it had nothing to do with us. So when we're coaching couples, my wife and I sometimes we like to use the credit card analogy. So imagine if you had a credit card and you just opened it and they approved you for a $10,000 limit and you've never used it. You just want to see if you could have it and you got it. And one day you see a nice pair of shoes for about 150 bucks and you say, hey, I'm going to use this card. And you swipe it. And they're like, hold on, decline. Whoa, what's going on? Swipe, swipe. It's declined. Hold on, let me call the company. Hey, I just got approved for this card. I've never used it. I have a $10,000 limit and I'm getting declined for $150 per shoe. What's going
Wow.
on? They say, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me tell you something. Actually, we didn't tell you if you got a prepaid card, but somebody's already used up
Sheesh.
$10,950. So until you make some payments on it, you don't have space to purchase a $150 shoe. You're like, hold on, I didn't spend it. So what happens in a lot of relationships is you enter that relationship already at a deficit because somebody already ran up a bill, but you gotta pay it now.
Oh, geez, so good. Oh my goodness, that's good. I might use that analogy, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. That's that's real good. I'm a cite where I got it from. And here's the thing with that, man. My wife and I, we were talking about this exact thing just yesterday, where a friend of ours, they're in that deficit, not realizing that that's where they are and not addressing the thing. And so here's why this is big, because most people, they date each other for a long time And the reason why they don't move forward is because they notice the deficit, but they don't talk about it, right? They don't address it. They don't. And here's the thing, and this was a part of the conversation I was having with her. If it is that you don't love this person enough to start paying the bill on that
Mm-hmm.
credit card, then you should leave.
Mm-hmm.
You should just leave. You got this
Yes.
person has to be willing to pay the debt. If you're not willing to pay the debt, then you should leave. Don't waste time. Don't waste each other's time. What's your thoughts on that?
Right. I like that because we do a lot of pre-marriage education. And why I really like that is all of us bring debt into the relationship.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to pay something that I did not run up. And I need to get it out on the table, like you said, and then decide, am I willing to pay that bill? But the person who already comes in with the bill has to say, I have to give them fair terms under which to do this, right? So I've got to restructure the debt so that they can pay it off quicker. So
Yeah.
I don't make them pay the interest they didn't earn,
Mm.
right?
That's
Think about
major.
it like this. What about someone who didn't have a great relationship with their father? A daughter who didn't have a great relationship with her father, so she already had the deficit in trusting men.
Yep.
The husband cannot avoid paying some of that penalty, but don't make him pay the interest. What is the interest? Trying to make him fill every gap that your father missed. So if your dad wasn't there for your sweet 16, now at your sweet 30th, you want him to do that plus what you missed from your dad. That's making him pay the interest.
Oh my gosh, bro. You're talking the exact conversation we were having yesterday, literally, right there. And
Right?
we are often taxed with the interest. Interest plus
Mm-hmm.
tax. That's what we end up having to pay. Because the
Mm-hmm.
interest is going to continue to compound and compound and compound. And every year that goes by, that interest continues to get bigger because it hasn't been paid down. And man, I
Mm-hmm.
think that this is so good because taking it back to the topic for today, where we're talking about these red flags, and the specific topic is a lack of emotional availability. This ties right in because a lot of times the lack of emotional availability is because of all of the debt that's been left.
Yes. 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 Um, I would say this, man. My wife and I, the next week will be 26 years of marriage.
Let's go.
Our roughest patch was around year 17 is when the wheels kind of came off the bus.
Really?
And we found ourselves, it's a whole story, man. We found ourselves having to make a decision of are we willing to do the work to pay down the debt that we ran up together.
Mm.
In the process of paying the debt is when we became aware that some of our debt was excess debt from previous relationships, was excess debt from our parental relationship, was excess debt from other, previous relationships that we even had with friends. And we brought all of that in and it weighed in, and for years, the red flag is waving. Hey. Unlike regular debt, I don't fall off after 7 years. You use the right word. I compound. I don't fall off. The only way you can get rid of me is to deal with me. When we did that, we started down the path of where we are today in terms of being able to pour into other relationships, into other couples, because we said, oh, we found the glue. We found the glue to stand together while we're in debt management crisis.
Wow. And what do you think that glue was? Now, I'm married for 6 years, right?
Okay.
6 years. And I was previously married, went through a divorce, and that divorce I sum up as to one of the causes being because of my ambition, right?
Hmm.
Because of my ambition. And which is why I have a heart for talking about this, because I see my
Hmm.
high performers continuously having this lack of emotional availability, which then leads to divorce and all of the things that come with it. So, what do you
Hmm.
think is the glue that helped you guys at year 17? Because now I'm curious, right? I need a lot of glue, my man. Give me gorilla, give me like, just give me everything. I want it all.
Hey, man. So you ready?
Hey.
Okay. During our toughest time, we had three questions we had to ask and answer. So we're faith-based, and so God had to pour in this these three questions. Question number one is, why marriage? Why would you even want to enter into the most sacrificial relationship on the face of the earth? Why?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of my favorite books on marriage, it's in my top five books, is by Dr. Gary Thomas, I believe it is. What if marriage wasn't made to make you happy, but to make you holy?
Mm.
So it talks about the extreme sacrifice that can exist within marriage. So one, why enter into the sacrificial relationship? Number two is, why this person? You could have chosen anyone. Why this particular specific person out of all of the people you could have chosen? But number three is the real glue, is where we found the glue for us. What is God's return on investment for bringing the two of you together? I'm reading your hat. God is an investor. So if God is an investor, he's expecting a return on his investment. So if he's going to invest in bringing the two of you together to be as one, what is his return on investment? So to help break that down is, at the end of the day, God made a whole bunch of things. He made the birds, the bees, the trees, the grass. He did all of those things. And after he did all of that, he said, I need a man to take care of it. After he did that, he said, I'm going to need a woman to help him. And the glue to marriage is shared purpose. What garden are we going to work together? Because the problem comes in when we don't have a shared garden to work. So when I hear you say your first marriage is about the ambition that you summed it up, I would say to you, probably part of what was in there is, it wasn't as much about the ambition as much as you were working a garden that you couldn't find a place full of weeds.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm in that place where I'm working the garden. I'm just saying, sit down, but she wasn't designed to just sit to the side. She was designed to help. If you study Proverbs 31 is a master class on a healthy functioning marriage.
Man,
So the glue is
I
shared purpose.
shared purpose, and whew, thank you for sharing that with me, because when you talked about being at year 17 and and like having that rough patch, I always wonder, for people who've been together for so long. I love having conversations with you guys. My wife and I, we're always in a married group seminar, like all those things, even before we got married, because we were all about that. And one of the things that I believe we were really blessed to get was a YouTube video by a pastor who did, it was the 5 keys to finding your soulmate. 5 keys to
Mm,
finding your soulmate. And the last key was a unified purpose.
Mm.
And we decided that our marriage was going to represent or be a representation of God's love and word, but also to show it outside to inspire and help others
Mm-hmm.
live a godly marriage. And so we
Mm-hmm.
created a purpose for our marriage even before we got married, just so that we could be two individuals coming as one for a shared purpose and a unified vision. And I'll tell you, many times it's been the thing that kept the glue, as you called it, right? And there's a reason why I call myself Kes on purpose, because it's like, what's the purpose for every single thing that we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that is not
Yes.
defined, then why are we going to hold on?
Right. Right. Yeah. What I found out in those dark days is that love, the way that we do love, the way that we enter into marriage speaking about love, is not enough. Love requires risk. It requires vulnerability. You do not truly love someone until you say, I am willing to allow you to hurt me. I hope you don't, but I am willing to allow you to hurt me. When we figured out that on the days when our imperfect love didn't work, but our purpose, and we're struggling, it's like, hey, but look to purpose. It's like, oh yeah, because that purpose wasn't assigned by me, it wasn't assigned by her, it was assigned by God.
Yep.
So am I giving up on what he said for us to do? Oh no, because one of the things we even teach is your vows are not even to each other. Your vows are to a father about his daughter, to a father about his son. Your vows are not to each other.
Yep.
You saying this is what I'm gonna do for your daughter. This is how I'm gonna take care of your daughter. This is how I'm gonna take care of your son. And once you realize that the accountability is up here instead of across from here, it changes the game. At least for me, it did.
Dude, 100%. That reverence and that fear of God is what helps keep things in line, right? That and fear here is used as reverence. It's not like a panic fear. It's a reverence, right? And dude, what you shared a little while ago is so beautiful, because anytime I talk to any of my clients and we talk about love, people say, I love you, I love you. I'm like, define love. Love is not an adjective. Love is it's a verb, right? And that verb only kicks into place when struggles happen. Commitment doesn't happen until something is hard. You're not committed when things are working. There's no need for commitment when something is working. Commitment only happens when there's resistance.
Yes.
And if people could really read the word, love is kind, love is patient, love is like, it's only verbs in there. There's no descriptive words. It's only verbs. And if I think if people can understand that and live through that, and I'll say this, I don't believe we have unlocked true levels of love until we started overcoming difficult things together.
Agreed.
Like real true, oh, this person really cares for me? That didn't show up until we had to go through trials. Right? We liked each other, we enjoyed each other, but that level of like, she really got my back, he got my back, that came from trials.
Yes.
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 One of
One of
one of the
one
most
of the most
painful
painful
statements I will
statements
say
I
my
would say
wife
my
made
wife
when we
made
were in
when
our
we were in our
darkest days
darkest days
was
was
after we
after
got
we
on the
got
other
on the other
side of
side
that
of that
particular
particular
storm.
storm.
She
She
said, I
said,
told her
I
I
told
love
her
her,
I
and she
love her, and
said,
she said,
I know,
I know,
but I didn't
but I
always
didn't
believe
always
it
believe
until
it
now.
until now.
We're
We're
17 years
17
in,
years in.
and that just
And that
gives
just gives
credence to what
credence
you
to
just
what you
said.
just said.
But it
But
wasn't
it
until
wasn't
then
until
that
then that she
this
just
loved me
loved
all
me
along,
all along.
Hmm.
because it was
Because
the
it was the
first
first
time.
time,
I like to
I
say it
like to
this
say it
way:
this
it's the
way,
first
it's the
time she
first
ever
time
saw
she
my
ever saw
blood.
my blood.
Hmm.
When I
When
see
I see
couples in
couples in
distress, one
distress,
of the
one
things
of
I
the
say
things
to
I say
men
to
is
men
men
is
have to
men
be the
have to
first
be
to
the first
die.
to die.
Husbands have to
Husbands
be the
have to
first
be
to
the
die.
first to die.
Wives have to
Wives
be the
have to be
first
the
to the
first to the
tomb
tomb
to
to
celebrate the
celebrate the
transformation
transformation
Hmm.
and
and
say, my
say, my
husband has set
husband
an
has set an
example of love.
example of love.
If we
If we
say
say
that,
that,
as a husband, husbands, love your
love
wives
your
as
wives as
Christ loved the
Christ
church,
loved the
then
church,
I
then
have
Yep.
I
to be
have
the
to
first
be the
to
first
die.
to die.
So,
So,
Yep.
you know,
And that's the way it needs to be. That's the way it
hmm
needs to be. And unfortunately, most men aren't willing to do that. Unfortunately, right? And a lot of time is because they're so emotionally absent from even
hmm
understanding what's happening inside of the home until it's too late. Until it's
yeah,
too late, right? My man George, what's up,
yeah.
bro? And so what are some of the, because we've been talking about emotional unavailability, and some of the ways that shows up is this constant preoccupation with work, even through work hours, right? Like
hmm
they're having a hard time transitioning from work into relationship mode. Like, let's talk about how you have dealt with that, where you're coming home or you're home and you're transitioning mentally to being checked in at home versus being at work. How have you dealt with that in your relationship?
I give you
I give
two
you
keys
two
that's been
keys that's been
successful for me.
successful for me.
One of them
One of
had to
them
do
had
with
to do
me.
with me.
One of them
One of
had to
them
do with
had
my
to do
wife.
with my wife.
The first
The
one
first one
is
is
I
I
had to
had
learn
to
how to
learn how to
practice what I
practice what
call
I call
um,
um,
healthy
healthy
selfishness.
selfishness.
Mm.
I
I
realized I
realized
did
I
not
did
have
not
a
have
self
a
care
self-care
routine.
routine.
So I
Mm.
was
So I was
only
only
the
the
sum
sum
of what I
of what I
produced.
produced.
So if I
So
wasn't
if I wasn't
producing, I
producing,
felt like
I
I
felt like
wasn't
I
doing
wasn't doing
anything.
anything.
And that
And
did
that did
eventually weigh on
eventually
my
weigh on
health.
my health.
It weighed on
It
my
weighed on my
marriage.
marriage. It
Weighed on
weighed
other
on other
relationships in my life,
relationships in my
my
life,
kids,
my kids,
what have
what
you.
have you.
But
But
I did
I
not
did
have a
not have
self
a
care routine.
self-care
So I
routine.
had
So I
to
had to
learn how
learn
to do
how to
self
do
care,
self-care,
right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
The
The
other
other
part,
part,
and this is
and
where
this
it
is
falls
where
on
it
my
falls on
wife,
my wife,
she had to
she
let
had
me
to
know
let
it
me
was
know it
okay
was okay
for me
for
not
me
to be in
not to be in
produce mode
produce
all the
mode
time
all the time.
because I'm
Hmm.
Because I'm
producing for
producing
them.
for them.
She had to
She
let
had
me
to
know,
let me
babe,
know,
this
babe,
is
this
enough.
is enough.
We're good.
We're good.
It isn't
It
where we
isn't
all
where
the way
we all
want
the
to
way
be,
want
but
to
we're
be,
not
but
going to
we're
go
not going to go
further if you're
further if
burnt
you're
out.
burnt out.
This will
This will
suffice.
suffice.
And that
And
took
that
her
took
doing
her
work
doing
within
work within
herself
herself
so that she
so
could
that she
learn
could
what
learn
enough
what
is.
enough is.
So would you say there
So
was a
those are the two things.
internal would you say that there was a pressure to provide that may or may not have been communicated, but one that us high performers wear automatically?
I do
I
think, I
do
don't
think I
blame
don't
her
blame her
because
because
think about
think
how we're
about how
raised as
we're raised
men.
as men.
Be
Yep.
Be
outside the home,
outside the home,
produce, produce,
produce,
produce,
produce,
produce.
produce, produce.
Make sure you
Make sure you
produce enough
produce
that if
enough
something
that if
happens
something
to you,
happens
your
to you,
family
your
is still
family is still
okay.
okay.
Even if
Even if
producing that
producing
more
that
to make
more
sure
to make
they're
sure
okay
they're
kills
okay
you.
kills you.
That's how we're
That's how
trained.
we're trained.
And unless the person that we're providing for says we are good, we feel we have to keep pressing. And that's what I think ends up happening is I my this is the blessing. Most people don't know how to value their spouse. Most people don't even, I've asked this question and I was surprised by the outcome. I said, why do you value your spouse? I asked a group of like 10 men and I asked about 8 women. I was surprised. I expect women to be able to actually articulate why they value their husband beyond the superficial, and men not to be. It was the complete opposite. Men could tell me why why they valued their wife. Women could not go beyond the superficial, all but one. And one said, I don't know, let me get back to you. And it's been a while, and they still hadn't gotten back to me with the answer. And I did this over a year and a half, 2 years ago. Why do I value? So here's the value that my wife adds to me. That's not superficial. My wife causes me to slow down. Just because of the nature of who she is. She's a very deliberate, take your kind of person. I'm a high D on the disc assessment, go, 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 press, 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 press. And I had to learn patience because being patient with her slowed me down and sometimes it allowed me to rest when I otherwise wouldn't have. That's a value to me, whether I realized it or not. And for many years, I did realize it.
Yep. Totally agree. That's definitely one of the values my wife adds to me as well. And we've had conversations about that even today, in terms of some of the things that in our planning for the quarter and just kind of talking through some of our financial plans, how we were going to move forward with certain things, putting criterias in place, right? Just so that I could slow down some, and even things for herself. Now, so I absolutely love what you just said there. A couple of other things that causes some of the emotional unavailability is that us men sometimes we use work as an excuse to avoid deeper conversation or intimacy. And so it would be one of those things where we're working a lot more, although we know that we don't have to do this, but we just don't want to go have that conversation. But if I'm working, right, like, or even spend time with the family, because most men don't know what to do with their family when they're with their family.
Yes. Yes.
Le-
I Go ahead.
No, this is, I've seen this. I've asked so many questions to my men, and I call it the relationship KPI, right? Like, do you, just like you have KPIs for your business, just like how you have KPIs for your marketing and all those things, do you have KPIs for your wife? Do you know the things that make her happy, make her sad, make her, and I'm not talking about on a fictional level. I'm talking about on an emotional level, right? Like, can you predict certain outcomes in your relationship like you can your business? And the answer, every time I start getting really specific, is typically no. Matter of fact, when I ask the question, men, what would your wife want to do? What is her purpose? They'll be like, I don't know. I've never asked. That's what I hear all the time. Talk to me. What's your thoughts on that? What do you hear on your side?
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Even to this day, being my family is still a challenge for me.
for me.
Being
Being
in the
in the
moment
moment
when we're
when
in the
we're in the
moment.
moment.
I'll give
I'll
you
give you
so recently
so
my
recently
son and
my
I, he
son and
wanted
I
to
he
go to
wanted
the
to go to
Rocket
the
League
Rocket League
tournament. My
tournament.
youngest
My
son, he's
youngest son, he's
17 years
17
old.
years
I
old.
was like,
I
hey,
was
let's
like,
go out
hey,
to
let's
Fort
go out to
Worth
Fort
together,
Worth
just
together. Just
add the
add
sun,
the
let's
sun.
roll.
Let's roll.
And when I got
And when I
out
got
there,
out
because I
there,
could
because I could
produce
produce
content and I do
content and
these
I do
things,
these
man, I
things,
wanted
man,
to
I
take
wanted
some
to take some
pictures. I wanted to do
pictures. I
some
wanted to do
video,
some
me and the
video, me and
son.
the son.
And I
And I
recorded some
recorded
video
some
and I took
video and
some
I took some
pictures. I
pictures.
ended up
I
not
ended up
posting
not
a
posting
single
a
one
single one
because I
because I
stopped doing
stopped
it
doing
because
it
this is
because this
about
is
me and
about
him
me and him
spending time.
spending
This
time.
is a
This is a
private moment.
private moment.
It's not for
It's not for
consumption.
consumption.
If he
If
wants to
he
take
wants
some
to
of the
take some of
pictures
the
and post
pictures
them
and
out there and
post them
say,
out there
spend
and
some
say,
time
spend
with
some
my
time
dad,
with my
great.
dad, great.
But that's
But
not
that's
not for
not
me to
for me
do.
to do.
I need
I
to
need
be
to be
present.
present.
I need to
I
be
need to be
present.
present.
Now, when it
Now, when
comes
it
to my
comes to my
wife,
wife,
I had to
I had
work
to
through.
work
This is
through.
one of
This
those
is one
things
of
where
those
I
things
had to
where I had
pay.
to pay.
I had to
I
work
had to work
through
through
helping
helping
her,
her,
believe in
believe in
her, but
her,
she
but
didn't
she didn't
believe what
believe
I was
what
saying
I
it
was
because I'm
saying it because I'm
supposed to say it
supposed to
because
say
I'm
it
her
because I'm
husband.
her
I'm like,
husband.
no,
I'm like,
babe, you're
no,
very
babe, you're very
talented in these
talented in
areas.
these areas.
These are things
These
you
are
can
things you
do.
can do.
So
So
about two and a
about
half
two and a
years
half
ago, I
years
left
ago,
my
I left my
job
job
and I only
and I
had like
only had like
30K saved
30K
up.
saved up.
And we got
And
to go
we
and
got to
do
go
this.
and do
God
this. God
provided,
provided,
multiplied the
multiplied the
income, all of
income,
those
all
good
of those
things. And I
good things,
walked
and I
away
walked
from a
away from a
six-figure job.
six-figure job.
By the
By
end of
the
year
end of
one,
year
she
one,
was able
she
to
was
do the
able to
same
do the
thing.
same thing.
Go
Go
build.
build.
But then
But
we hit
then we
this
hit this
crossroad.
crossroad.
About 6 months
About 6 months
in, she
in,
started
she
feeling
started
down
feeling
because
down
she
because
wasn't
she
bringing
wasn't
in any
bringing in any
income. And
income.
she's
And
like,
she's like,
"Oh, I just
oh,
feel
I
so
just feel
bad."
so
And
bad.
and what about
What
this? And
about
what
this?
about
And what
this
about
bill?
this
Because
bill?
and I
Because
said,
and I
"Hey, hey,
said, hey,
hey,
hey, hey,
did I ask
did
you
I
for
ask
a
you
dime?
for a dime?
Did I say
Did
we
I
were
say we were
struggling?
struggling?
Did I say?" And
Did I
she's
say?
like,
She's
"No,
like, no.
I said,
I
get out your
said, get out
feelings.
your feelings.
I already
I
knew you
already
weren't
knew
going
you
to
weren't going to
produce any
produce any
income for at
income
least a
for at least
year,
a year,
maybe even
maybe
two
even
years,
2 years,
because that's
because
what it
that's
takes
what
to
it
build
takes
a
to build a
business.
business.
That's why I
That's why I
started first.
started
That's
first.
why I
That's
took
why
on
I
these
took on
other
these
things.
other things.
You
You
do
do
you.
you.
I know what
I
you're
know what you're
capable of.
capable of.
I need you
I
to
need you
find
to
your
find
way.
your way.
I'm here to
I'm here
support
to
you while
support
you
you
do.
while you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's been
Right. She's
working
been
since she
working
was
since she was
14, 15
14,
years
15
old.
years old.
And here it
Yeah.
is
And here
in your
in your
40s,
40s,
mid 40s,
mid
you're
40s,
leaving your
you're leaving
job.
your
This is
job. This is
abnormal to you.
abnormal to
I
you.
get it.
I get it.
It's part of my
It's part of my
personality.
personality.
I can
I
pivot
can
like
pivot
that.
like
It's
that.
not
It's
yours.
not yours.
You're risk
You're risk
adverse. I
adverse.
get it.
I get it.
Just be
Just
calm.
be
And so
calm. And so
I had to
I
pay
had to
that
pay
tax
that
in that
tax in that
season
season.
so
Yep.
that,
So
and
that,
now
and
she's
now
starting to
she's starting
find
to find
her
her
footing
footing
in where
in
she
where she
thrives at.
thrives
And
at.
now
And
I just
now
kind
I
of
just
sit
kind
back
of
and
sit
coach
back
a
and
little
coach a
bit.
little bit.
And
Yep.
And
sometimes when she
sometimes
gets
when she gets
frustrated, I don't know
frustrated,
if
I
you
don't
deal
know if
with
you
this,
deal with
but
this,
sometimes
but
she gets
sometimes she gets
frustrated because
frustrated because
she won't
she won't
husband
husband
coach,
coach,
but she wants
but she wants
access to
access to
consulting
consulting coaching
approaches. And
approaches. And
I'm like, you
I'm
don't
like,
get
you
to
don't
choose
get to
which
choose
coach you
which
get.
coach you get.
that's
It's like, you're
definitely
like, okay.
Okay.
that's definitely I wouldn't say a challenge. We are very mindful to be like, hey, what hat are you speaking with right now? And even me, I sometimes I need my wife, sometimes I need the COO, right? Like, so it's like
Right.
being really clear, and I think that's what makes this better when we're clear. Anytime we're having conflict, we're able to go back and get clarity on our roles. And anytime we have clarity on our roles, we typically could get out of a situation. Now, if her
Hmm.
and I can't get out together, we typically would have a coach or a counselor that we would meet with within quick time. And so we have sessions that's already booked, and this is through maintenance. You know, one of the
Hmm.
great things my wife suggested when we would meet to talk about like the baby and stuff. We have several meetings. One is typically about baby and family and all those things, baby planning. She said, hey, I think we should book, like, just get some sessions with our coach on the books because we have no idea what postpartum is going to be like for me and all those things. And just having that help already booked to navigate those situations, that could be wise. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's get a few in. And man, oh man, did they help us stay afloat? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Throughout the
Yeah.
times. So that helps me to keep a level of emotional availability um, to her. But I think one of the things, man, when it comes to being present, for me, the super important thing is my schedule. I live by this
Hmm.
thing right here, right? Like I'm always in it, right? And that schedule helps me because I know what I'm gonna do and when I'm gonna do it. I'm mentally able to tell my brain, stop. That's scheduled. You're doing that on Thursday. You're doing that on Wednesday, on Friday at 5. Come back. Kind of like a dog. Like how you train a dog, it's like, come back. Right? And
Right.
I've also done some emotional exercises to help train my impulse. And I'll give you a very simple one. It sounds crazy, but I needed it to help me be present at date night. I started eating with my phone upside down, right? Like just me and my food eating. Now here's why that was difficult for me. In real estate, at that point in time, I was wholesaling. When a seller or a buyer is calling you, that's money calling. And I started to practice not answering the phone while I was eating, although I was like, oh my God, like, right? And then it became more normal, and I could just let the phone ring and not care. And that helped me to build a level of emotional control, even mentally for myself, to just stay locked in and be present. Because that was one of the things that she would say, like, hey, we're at dinner and you're answering the phone to talk about a deal. And it made her feel like the business was more important than she was. And that was
Yeah.
not something I was willing to happen. And so I had to figure it out. And that emotional control, I still do it to this day. When I eat, I flip my phone upside down and I'm just so present with myself, and I stay present to be able to do the things that I need to, that translates in other areas of my life with my mind, and just being like, sit, like just tell my mind sit, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with mine on my side, and being able to be present.
Yeah. You know, you said something just a minute ago about, like when we have those conflicts, when we have those moments, one of the things I've learned is friction should draw you closer together, not further apart. But that can only happen if you are trained how to use friction. So I grew up, I'm a country boy. I grew up in rural North Florida. I watched old men sharpen their knives. They showed us how to sharpen their knives. If I go through, and I won't go through the whole analogy of making a knife, but the short version is, in order to make a knife, you have to dig down, get into the ore, you have to take it through fire to purify the ore so that you can get the steel to form the knife, right? After you form it, it's still got to be sharpened and it's got to be polished.
Mm.
You don't ever just polish and sharpen it once. What they taught us when about sharpening a knife is you got to bring it at the knife, the blade across the wet rock at just the right angle in order to sharpen the edge. If you bring it across like this, you're going to dull it. That's just using the friction. But when you lay it at about a 45-degree angle and you bring it down, you're using the friction to sharpen the blade. So, hey, every time we have friction, it's like, oh, here's an opportunity for us to get sharp and not dull each other.
Yeah.
But most of us have not been taught how to use friction to our advantage in various relationships, not just at home. Friction is an opportunity to sharpen always, but a lot of times we miss that.
Man, that's so good. That is so good. Bro, man, I could see that we will talk here until like 1 o'clock in the morning, right? Like I could see why we connected and all the conversations that we've had. And so in wrapping up, man, one of the things that I want my high performers to know and understand to be able to improve that emotional availability is to really establish those clear work boundaries so that you could really just lock in with family, with your wife, with your kids in the time that's scheduled, right? Like schedule the time so that there are no surprises around it. And I mean, you said it before, practicing like mindfulness to improve that being in the moment, practicing that self-care really helps as well. What's some tips that
Yeah.
you would give for our men out here, people, not even men and women, because we have high performing women as well. But what is like one tip you would give to someone that needs to be more emotional available?
I'm going to put it in it's going to be a two-part answer, and it's going to be brief. People have probably heard this. Tip number one is remember that time is not money because time is infinitely more valuable than money. When your time bank runs out, will you be proud of where you am I proud of where I deposited my time?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Look at your kids, look at your wife, look at the things around you that really matter that you can't replace with money and say, will I be proud of where I deposited my time? The second thing is take the time to actually process your emotions so that you know how to make them available to the people you love.
So
That
good.
is every emotion: anger, frustration, happiness, joy. Take the time to understand them. Like when you get angry, sit with it for a minute. Don't act, don't move, sit with it for a minute.
Woo.
Because I want to be able to articulate properly to my spouse why I was angry. Not that I was just angry, but why I was angry, what I was feeling, why I was feeling that way. And that spouse needs to learn to just do kind of like you do at your home. They need to be able to turn their commentary off. Just flip their commentary over and let that person have that moment of being open.
So good, man. So good. Dude, we got to do so many more of these. I feel like the value that was bought here today, if someone really tapped in and listened to the nuggets that was dropped, they could change their marriage. They could get some things that would be an asset for them for the rest of their lives, right? And so Damon, thank you so much, brother, for this connection. Thank you for jumping on here with me to provide value to our people who needs it. And the reason why, Damon, I'm doing this is because I don't need to talk about making money anymore. There's so much content out there when it comes to making money and doing this fast and doing that. I decided that because of what I see from my high performers that I coach, that it will be more beneficial to help them to sustain and maintain the other aspects of life, like their relationships, like their health, like just their environment, mindfulness, mindset, all of those things. They tend to neglect that because they're so focused on money and their career. And I'm seeing them fall to the wayside. They're getting sick, they're getting divorced, they're getting all of these things. And I'm like, man, this is a place and a purpose for me because it's never been about money. I love money. I love money. But here's a value I could add because it's something I've invested a lot of time in. Countless hours. The last 14 years, I would say, I've invested time in figuring out the mindset behind even having a decent relationship that first started and stemmed from my divorce. And so I thank you for being the man that you are, and connecting with me, because I could see us doing so many more of these to be able to help our men and our people have better relationships and thrive even as they are successful in their careers. So, my brother, any final words?
Hey man,
Hey
I
man,
just
I
thank you
just
for
thank you
allowing me
for
to
allowing
come
me to
on.
come
I
on.
saw the
I saw the
invite out
invite
there. I was
out there. I
like,
was like,
I'm gonna go
I'm gonna
in.
go
I'm gonna
in.
go
I'm gonna
in.
go in.
But
But
100%
100%
everything you
everything you
said, and
said,
as you
and
were
as you
saying
were
that,
saying that,
this is
this is
how it
how
summed
it
up to
summed
me.
up to me.
I don't
I
make
don't
money.
make
I make
money. I make
people, and when
people.
you
And when
make
you make
people,
people,
money will
money
take
will
care of
take care
itself.
of itself. I love
Yeah.
it, bro. I love it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Damon. Thank you so much. And my people, this is it. We're going to be back tomorrow for another session in the red flags, relationship red flags. So tap in with me. I'll be back here at 5. And remember, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Peace and love, y'all. We out.